Windsor, Wisconsin, a quiet village north of Madison, the kind of place where lawns are mowed on Saturdays, where neighbors wave from their porches, where nothing bad is supposed to happen. Bart and Krista Halderson lived here. He worked in accounting. She managed an office nearby. They had built the kind of life people spend decades chasing. A comfortable home, 2 sons, a stability that looked from the outside unshakable. Their youngest son, Chandler, was 23, still living at home, still finding his way. And by every account his parents gave to friends and coworkers, he was finally getting there. He was enrolled at Madison College, working toward a degree in information technology. He had an internship at a respected insurance company. And then, in the summer of 2021, came the announcement that made Bart and Krista glow with pride. Their son had been hired by SpaceX, Elon Musk's company. Rockets, the future. Chandler told them he'd be relocating to Florida within weeks. He talked about the job the way people talk about a dream finally catching up to them.
So I'll be managing the entire regional sales team.
Oh, honey, we are just so incredibly proud of you.
Thanks, Mom. It's a huge opportunity.
And you're sure you're ready for all that travel?
Absolutely, I can't wait to start.
To Bart and Krista, it must have felt like everything had clicked into place. Their son wasn't just doing fine. He was about to do something extraordinary. But here is the detail almost no one noticed at the time. Chandler wasn't just describing a future. He was staging one.
He wasn't attending classes. He hadn't been enrolled in a program for more than a single semester. There was no internship. There was no SpaceX. Every morning, while his father worked from home just down the hall, a pandemic-era routine that put them under the same roof day after day, Chandler stayed in his room, not studying, not working, playing video games, according to what investigators would later piece together, while setting alarms early enough to make it look like he had somewhere to be. An entire career invented one small lie at a time.
And it wasn't just conversation. Chandler built infrastructure around the lie. When his parents pressed him for his college transcripts, he didn't stall. He produced something better. Email threads. Correspondence, apparently from college staff, explaining delays, answering questions, keeping the story alive on paper. The only problem was that the people writing those emails didn't exist. For months, this worked. Bart and Krista had no reason to doubt their son. Why would they? He had documentation. He had a routine. He had, by every visible measure, a future.
Somewhere in Windsor, Wisconsin, in the summer of 2021, a family believed they were watching their son succeed. They had no idea they were watching a performance. And performances, no matter how carefully rehearsed, have a weakness. Someone, eventually, checks the record. By early July, that check was coming. And when it landed, it wouldn't just expose a lie. It would end 2 lives. Every fabricated life has a flaw its architect can't control. For Chandler, it was paperwork. Bart Halderson wanted his son's transcripts. Simple enough. The kind of thing a proud parent asks for, maybe to help plan tuition, maybe just to see the progress in black and white. Month after month, the transcripts didn't come. And month after month, Chandler had an explanation ready. A delay at the registrar's office, a processing issue. Always something. Always just enough to keep the question from becoming a demand. But a father's patience isn't infinite. And by June 2021, Bart's patience had run out. He picked up the phone and called Madison College directly. He wasn't trying to catch his son in a lie. He was trying to solve a problem. He believed completely that his son was a student there. What the college told him didn't match anything he'd been hearing at home. There was no active enrollment, no IT program. The classes Chandler had taken, if any, weren't part of a degree track at all. For a moment, imagine what that call must have felt like. A father, sitting with a phone against his ear, slowly realizing the story he'd believed for over a year didn't hold up.
But Bart didn't explode. He didn't confront his son with accusations. Investigators would later say he did something quieter, and in hindsight, something devastating. He kept digging. He wanted to see his son face the truth directly. According to prosecutors, Bart arranged to go to the college in person with Chandler, together, to sort it out once and for all. That meeting was scheduled for July 1st, 2021. It never happened. Because somewhere between the discovery and the appointment, everything Chandler had built, the fake job, the fake school, the fake identity of a young man on the rise, was about to collapse in front of the two people who loved him most. And according to prosecutors, Chandler wasn't willing to let that happen. On the morning of July 1st, something occurred inside that quiet Windsor home that would never be fully undone. Bart Halderson was shot. Hours later, when Krista returned, she too was killed. For 6 days, no one outside that house knew. Chandler didn't call for help. He didn't confess. Instead, he did something almost unthinkable. He stepped back into the role he'd been playing all along. Except now, the performance had a new script. On July 7th, he reported his parents missing. He told police a story about a trip to a family cabin near White Lake, hours north. He mentioned a casino. He suggested they may have gone with another couple, someone unnamed, someone no one could locate. To anyone listening, it sounded like a son worried about his parents. But investigators didn't know yet what Chandler was truly capable of constructing. Somewhere in Wisconsin, two people were already gone. And the only person who knew the truth was standing in front of detectives, describing a trip that never happened. The investigation into a missing couple was about to become something far darker. And one small piece of digital evidence, something Chandler never accounted for, was about to bring the entire fabrication down. Missing persons cases often begin with hope. This one began with instinct, a quiet, growing suspicion among investigators that the story didn't add up. Chandler's account kept shifting in small, subtle ways. A cabin trip with no confirmed destination, a mystery couple no one could name. Detectives working the case noted the inconsistencies almost immediately, but inconsistency alone doesn't prove anything. They needed something solid. They got it from an unlikely source, a location marker on a social media app, and an alert neighbor. A resident near the small community of Cottage Grove had noticed something odd days earlier. A young man backing his car up near a wooded area, seemingly checking to see if anyone was watching. It was a small, forgettable moment for anyone else. For investigators, it became a thread worth pulling. That location connected to land belonging to the family of Chandler's girlfriend. When detectives searched the area, they found human remains, a male torso, later confirmed through forensic identification to be Bart Halderson. Nearby, inside a drum, they recovered tools that told their own story: a saw blade, bolt cutters, scissors. An autopsy would later confirm what the scene already suggested. Bart hadn't just been killed, his body had been deliberately dismembered. Chandler was brought in for questioning, along with his girlfriend. He was arrested almost immediately, not yet for murder, but for giving false information to investigators. It was a small charge, procedurally speaking, but it was the first thread in the case beginning to unravel completely. Then came the search for Krista. Her remains were discovered days later, found along the Wisconsin River in a different county entirely, dozens of miles from where Bart had been found. Investigators noted something chilling about the location. It was tied to a place Chandler knew well, a familiar swimming spot from his own past, photographed there in years prior. The geography of the crime told its own story. 2 counties, 2 disposal sites. A killer who understood the land well enough to think he could scatter the truth so widely that no one would ever reconstruct it. He was wrong. As detectives built their case, one detail became especially damning: the fake emails Chandler had used to convince his father that Madison College correspondence was real. Investigators traced the account back to Chandler himself. They also found a burner phone in his bedroom, matched to the mysterious voice Bart had spoken to when he called one of those email contacts directly. A voice Bart later said sounded strangely like his own son. The fabricated life Chandler had spent over a year constructing wasn't just a motive, it became evidence. Chandler Halderson was formally charged with first-degree intentional homicide for both his parents. His trial began in January 2022 in Dane County. Prosecutors laid out a story that had by then become unmistakable. A young man who killed not out of rage or sudden violence, but to protect a fiction, to keep his parents from discovering that the son they believed in didn't fully exist. The defense argued their client was simply a normal young man, someone who liked video games, someone the evidence didn't fully explain. They urged the jury to look for what was missing. The jury didn't need long. After 8 days of testimony, forensic experts, detectives, digital records, the fake emails read aloud in court, the jury deliberated for roughly 2 hours. Guilty on all 8 counts. At sentencing, Judge John Hyland handed down life in prison without the possibility of parole. He told the courtroom that the only way Chandler would return to the community was to grant his parents something he had denied them in death: a proper burial. Chandler spoke publicly for the first time that day. He said little about what happened. He asked instead if any lawyer watching would be willing to take on his appeal. Somewhere in that courtroom, no one found closure. Only the end of a story that had taken far too long to tell truthfully. There is a particular kind of tragedy in a lie that grows too big to live inside anymore. Chandler Halderson didn't wake up one day and decide to become a killer. He built, piece by piece, a version of himself he thought his parents needed to see. Successful, driven, headed somewhere. And when that version started to crack, he didn't choose honesty. He chose to protect the fiction at any cost. What's left behind isn't just a crime. It's a warning about how far someone will go to avoid being seen for who they actually are. Bart and Krista Halderson believed in their son. That belief, in the end, is what made the lie possible, and what made its unraveling so fatal. Somewhere between the fake emails and the fake job offer, a young man convinced himself that the story mattered more than the truth. He was wrong. The truth always finds its way to daylight.